Let's talk about the listing setting. You're going on a listing interview. Where do you sit? What do you ask? How long should it be? What if they ask about your fee early on? Let's just talk about a few of those different things. As far as strategically, where do you sit at the kitchen table? When you look at a lot of real estate offices or mortgage company offices, a lot of times the table is actually round in the conference rooms. It's not rectangular. And if you start looking at kitchen tables or dining room tables, certainly, they're almost always rectangle, long, that way, right? And not very wide. You can seat 6 or seat 8, whatever it is. But when we go into the dining room to have a face-to-face interview with somebody to get the mortgage loan or to get them to list a property with us, or a buyer trying to sign up, we generally want to sit at a round table where we can actually be, the goal is elbow to elbow. When you're sitting here and they are sitting there, this is very it's conflict oriented, where they can actually speak to each other with their body language, and as well as tapping each other or kicking each other under the table, whatever it is. Ideally, if they're sitting across from you, you're going to ask this one here to move over here to sit in the end. You're on the end, the other party over there across from you is on the end, and this party that's sitting here, we want to ask them to get up and sit over here, because we're going to put paperwork in front of both of you. I want to make sure that we all can see it clearly, and I've never been unsuccessful moving this party to the corner. The objective here, we're all going to physically be closer together. It's more of an intimate presentation at that point. You can actually reach out and touch somebody, and on the forearm or something like that, and to interact with them. You're obviously just much closer to them when you're sitting like this. This is a very controversial type of a sit down, conflict oriented. And again, a lot of presentations, the salesperson creates these environments that are not friendly to themselves. It allows objections to happen. We have a table between us. It's easier to fight and debate. I've been to attorneys' offices, and I don't think I've ever seen where the divorced couples come together, ever a round table. They're always large tables, separate the people, and keep them arguing. But we don't want to be arguing with our clients, so ideally we're sitting at a round table, and we want to be elbow to elbow with the other parties. Next thing is, what room do you do it in? I'd also recommend, if we can always be at the kitchen table, the decisions in many families' lives are done at the kitchen table. They are not done generally at the dining room table, and they're also not done in the family room, where I'm in one chair. I know a relative of mine that does counseling with families really in distress. She gets into their home, and most of the meetings she says that sometimes he's watching TV, he will not engage, and she's sitting in a chair closest to the door to be able to get out of the house, and because there's no relationship here, just a social worker checking on the family, some of the challenges they have. So you could have the wife with the child on the couch, he's in his comfortable chair, not together, and sometimes she said even watching television, totally disengaged. And she's got to be, this is a really challenging situation to move people emotionally, to change in their life. That's why she's in the house. And we don't want to be sitting in the wrong room, having people sitting away from us. So if people want to sit you down and give you a glass of water, whatever the case, and you're in the family room, they're in their chairs, you're in theirs, get up and ask if we can go to the kitchen table or the dining room if that's your last resort. So when we're in that setting and you come to the kitchen table, whether the placemat's out, the glasses are out, some people just leave the forks out, that kind of looks nice. In any case, got flowers and a big vase and wherever you're sitting. Actually ask permission. Can we move these things out of the way? It's really a difficult situation to be able to put papers in front of people when they have all this stuff that's out. Just ask nicely, can I move that? And you'll see 100% of the time you'll have no problem with it. By the way, what do you wear to an interview? Well, I think we get paid a lot of money for short-term relationships. If we're lenders or anybody in the real estate business, we get paid pretty good money for short-term relationships. And what should we wear? Well, I'm going to dress like I'm going to not quite a wedding, but I'm going to dress in my best stuff. Because after all, they're not just buying my brand or my solution, they're buying me and my appearance. And when I was running real estate companies and an agent would come into the office in the jeans and just whatever, I'd say, oh, does your spouse know you're not working today? Anyways, we know that you can't or shouldn't go on an interview wearing that. And I made decisions on who I handed out my personal business to and relocation business, in part, on were people prepared, not just with the data, but you just show up to work ready to go. And I know this, if you're a lender or a realtor, and you're looking at, where do I get my business? Where do I get my business? There are other agents and other LOs in your office who have overflows of business, looking for more people to join their team or to give leads to trust you with. But they make a judgment call based on what you chose to wear. I don't know what you wear watching this video, but when we're in the business environment, let's make sure the others around us can, look at us for our appearance, if you will, that we're ready to go. Give me an opportunity and I'll serve them well. And we dress too casually. Now, if you're watching this in Hawaii and that's the way it is, you're showing resort property, I understand. But if you're in the typical situation where you're interviewing at a table, that we would put on our best because the client is judging us. How long is your overall presentation? Again, if you're a real estate agent, how long is your listing presentation? And more importantly, how long is the part on pricing? If you're only there for an hour, I had an agent say to me, nice gentleman, and he said, I've got my listing presentation pricing down to 15 minutes. Brian, don't mess with my listing presentation. Well, this good friend of mine was having a real struggle getting his listing sold. In fact, had one listing for about 2 years. And the question, don't mess with my listing presentation. I got it down. Well, he's got it down, but it isn't very effective. The proof's in the numbers. And I said, we need to expand that time. And for you who are sitting out there going, no, don't mess with my time on that. Well, if you don't do it at the interview, there's a pretty good chance you're going to do it during the seller servicing period. What we're trying to do is spend the right amount of time at the interview and then cut the time of our days in the market. So I've got a question for you. Would you rather spend an hour on pricing or 5 months on a listing, seller servicing them? The only way we can shorten the days in the market probably is do a better job at that interview. Take a little bit more time to make sure the client's always in the ready mode of the 4 modes. The 4 modes are, no way, I'm not going to do your price. No way. And you think you're going to get it as the agent later during seller servicing when you have less influence because you're on the phone or doing emails. So we have motivation, states of readiness. Clients' states of readiness are no way, maybe we'll do your number, but we're not going to start out doing it. The next one is the contingency stage where, let's try my number for a little while, like a week or 2. Are you okay with that? And I'd say, yes, I am. Or finally, the ready stage, basically, whatever you say to them goes regarding pricing. A couple last things here. At what point do you say your brokerage fee or your list price? Not until the very last 5 minutes of the presentation. They really should not know, and again, there's different schools of thought here. Send the seller in advance what the brokerage fee is in your listing packet. Now, you can do it. It's working successfully for you. This is just one person's opinion, that I don't like to tell my value, my price, until I've demonstrated my value. If it's working for you and you never have any cancellations and the sellers are going with your brokerage fee and your pre-listing packet, wonderful. A lot of agents, though, don't want to tell their fee just yet because it could be eliminated, because some sellers are shopping brokerage fees, and all you have to do is call upon an expired listing. A friend who sends you a referral, that's different. They're probably ready for whatever your fee is. But an expired, by owner, relocation companies, there's a lot of people out there, attorneys who send you business because they're interested in what the cost is, that we want to demonstrate value before we say our price and of our commission, because some people will make a decision to eliminate you. Not everybody, if they're personal referrals, but a lot of the referral sources are looking for a commodity who's got the right price for the brokerage fee. All right. And I talked about before, your price, we don't say to the final 5 minutes, no matter how much the client pushes you to tell you, what do you think the price is on my house? I won't hold you to it. We're going to wait to the very final 5 minutes and walk through the whole therapy session. A couple last things here again is, what if one party leaves the room? The phone rings, you're sitting with the two parties, and the one who is less dominant in the conversation has to leave the room because of the phone call. Do you continue or not? Or the more dominant one? I would say wait, if you can, for the other party to come back so they didn't miss anything. Now, the question is, how long of the wait? If it's more than just a couple few minutes, you go, what do I do in the meantime? Just recap some of the stuff you went over with. Ask some other questions about their family or recreation or things like that. But and I've seen it, I've been there myself, where somebody just got up and left the room because the phone rang or a child called or something like that. And I want to make sure they're really engaged. So I'd either stop the presentation, recap some different things. If the dominant one's the one who left, absolutely, I just stop this. Because the one who is less dominant, who's not a decision maker, there's not a whole lot that's going to come from it by interacting with that person sitting there. If the less dominant person walks out of the room and they're gone for 15 minutes, whatever the case, we probably should proceed. All right. Last thing is, what do you do with the items that you brought with you? And do I leave everything behind for the seller in this case? I'm not really a proponent of leaving all of my data. It's what I call, it's my paper trail. Seller, I had to determine the value and defend it. If I can, I'd love to keep this paper trail. Now, if they say, well, we'll give it back to you, and this allows you a situation to follow up with them to go get it, that's an opportunity for you to re-follow up. But in general, I took that stuff with me because if they're going to look through it and judge the comps, and I can't judge their responses, I want to be there and answer questions about that. It's just really one school of thought. Do you leave everything with them, or do you take it with? I just was at the camp. I took the items with me because it's my paper trail. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.